Good evening. I'd like to thank you to the October 10th, 2023 Prescott BIA Board of Management. Item number 1, I'd like to call us to order at 5:34 p.m. Do I have a mover? Thank you. And a seconder? Thank you. All in favor? Thank you. Item number 2, approval of the agenda. Recommendation that the agenda be accepted as presented. Or sorry, prior to that, were there any questions or concerns about the agenda? No. Okay, recommendation that the agenda be accepted as presented. Do I have a mover? Thank you. And a seconder? All in favor? Item number 3, declarations of interest. Any declarations of interest? Nope. Nope. May I have a mover? Thank you, Jeannie. And a seconder? Thank you. All in favor? Delegations or presentations? I don't see anyone here other than us. So I'm going to suggest that we proceed on from there. Do I have a mover to proceed on to the next item? Thank you. And a seconder? All in favor? Item 5, minutes of the previous meeting. Did anyone not have an opportunity to go over the minutes of the previous meeting? Any questions or concerns? Okay, the recommendation is that the minutes dated September 12th, 2023 be accepted as presented. May I have a mover? Thank you. And a seconder? All in favor? Item number 6, financial report.
Okay. So we have a levy of 29,000. The only updated from the previous meeting is a 250 for the Halloween decorating contest, which brings us to 4,587. And we still have, keep going down. Oh, for the reserves, I think it's on the bottom. I was reading something that we might, and 31,013 in the reserves. And we have a remaining to be allocated of 3,938.
Any questions, Ruth?
No, I'm good.
Terry?
No.
Tracy?
No, thank you.
Jeannie? Charity? Nicole? Okay, the recommendation is that the financial report be accepted as presented. May I have a mover? And a seconder, please?
Can I do that?
All in favor? Item number 7, committee reports. So subsection A, marketing and promotions committee and placemaking committees.
So we're sort of taking these all together because the discussions overlap really between the marketing and the events. But I was going to take you through what has come out of all the Halloween discussions, what's planned, what's going to be going on over the next few weeks, as well as just a little brief discussion of the Christmas planning that has been done so far. So the Halloween decorating contest, that went out to businesses, I believe, 3 weeks ago. We have a number that are signed up, so we're putting together the electronic ballot. They've been given the broad theme of scarecrows, but also told they don't really need to hew too closely to that if they don't want to. So we'll be putting in an electronic ballot along with QR codes at the participating businesses and then doing it up on social media as well. There'll be 2 weeks from the 17th to the 31st for voting, and then we'll announce the prize winners at the pumpkin parade on the 1st of November. So allocated 250 from the BIA and 250 from ECDA for those prizes. So the first prize will be $250 for digital advertising, second prize $150, and third prize $100. Any business that hasn't signed up but decorates, will include them as well into the ballot for voting. And hopefully we'll get as many windows decorated up as possible downtown. The second Halloween event is it's going to be centered around the Halloween market on October 28th. So we'll have a Halloween vendor market, farmers and crafters market at the clock tower on the 28th. We presently have 16 vendors signed up, and we'll be putting more calls out for those in there. We'll have live entertainment. And we're going to have the Prescott Curling Club there with their new street curling apparatus. So they'll be set up down there as well with a little tent. They came both of the last 2 summers with one that they had to borrow from Curl Ontario, and they now have their own system, so they'll be down for that. We're also going to organize some trick-or-treating at the market and put a call out to businesses that want to participate on that Saturday as well during the day, and put together a little selfie station at the clock tower for people coming in their costumes.
And that's all on the 28th?
That's the 28th, yeah, from 10 to 3. And finally, we're going to be having our first Haunting in Downtown Prescott event on the October 24th. Still finalizing the details about that, but it will be at Katarina's. And we're going to have Astral Paranormal is going to do a little bit, Astral Light Paranormal is going to do an investigation ahead of time and put together their findings. And then we'll have a public event where you can buy some snacks, buy some food, come in and see what ghosts are lurking in there, and hopefully we will be able to roll it out to a number of restaurants over the next few months. Less of a Halloween thing and maybe an ongoing little winter restaurant promotion. The Astral Light Paranormal, they like to do these things because then they can use their findings in their little stuff, and I know that the haunting investigations get a good turnout, so it's a good little thing for the restaurants as well as we head into the sort of down season, slower season. We'll also be doing, I don't have a slide on it here, but November 1st, as part of the Pumpkin Parade, we'll be having a market there that evening as well. It'll probably be 6 to 8 vendors in front of the lighthouse in the marina area. We did it there last year, and that was sort of the conclusion of the Pumpkin Parade, but that will be going on as well. It's a fun night down there. So the Christmas planning, it's sort of less defined there now. We're finalizing the details of the Christmas market at the pop-ups, but that'll be something that'll be going ahead down there in the Christmas season. At the committee meetings, we did a lot of discussing about the idea of downtown evening shopping or potential evening events coinciding with the parade night and the tree lighting night. Those are nights where you have a very large crowd downtown, but you're sort of not traditionally capitalizing on that in the stores and restaurants. Stores more than restaurants have sort of a difficult time capturing that. So sort of batting around some ideas there that we can use to capitalize on that. Last year we did a little bit of a open, started the Friday evening shopping elfing nights with the tree lighting. So looking into ideas like that where we can capitalize on some of those people downtown, especially with the parade night and the combination of the parade night and the new restaurants. That's sort of an opportunity down there that evening for sort of a longer night for folks coming down. Make it a more complete night coming down. So that would be the conclusion of my committee reports there. If anyone has any questions?
Thank you, Justin. Any questions, Nicole?
I'm good.
Or thoughts? What are your thoughts?
I think it's exciting. I mean, I don't know what we're gonna find. I got the emails, okay, we'll do it. I think it's a great idea. It's something that's very interactive compared to just like, because sometimes if it's such a big event, people don't necessarily get that feeling that they're part, but then I think this would really make, if you're there, it really makes you feel like you're part of the event. So I think it's a good thing. And as you said, I think it's also a good opportunity to do other places. It brings It gets people around too. And the Christmas planning, that's exciting too for the pop-ups. So are we planning like, is it every weekend or is it just gonna be like a once, or we're not sure?
That is the great debate. Just having that conversation today. Love some input. We've been researching what other communities are doing. It's a real mixed bag. Some are just doing one-day events for, say, a 4 to 6 hour period. Others are doing multi-day events. Initially, I think we were envisioning, maybe 3 Saturdays in December coinciding the day after the tree lighting. So it's kind of, all building off of that Christmas in Prescott theme. But again, weather can be, it's hard to say what the weather will do. It's a lot to ask of vendors to come down for multiple days. At the same time, it's a lot of work to stage this and turn it into a holiday village. So if we're going to put that level of work in, we were really thinking a longer multi-day event. So, looking for input, definitely looking for volunteers for sure. This is something that we'll really want, people who aren't actually taking a pop-up for the purpose of selling holiday related things. We would love some help with actually activating that area, decorating, staging some events, because we're thinking, it would be great to have a local business maybe serving something along the lines of a cider. We want to get Christmas trees down there. We've got a line on a potential Christmas tree vendor. We were thinking the Red Shed could be Santa Claus and have visits with Santa Claus and have our photographer down and that kind of be the anchor to all these other vendors selling holiday things. Other question that we had a lot of discussion about is time of day. Do you go, say, 2 to 7? Like, you want some of it to be in the evening because you're not going to get that impact of the Christmas lights and that whole holiday scene and, trees lit and then all of that fun stuff, fire pits going. But at the same time, we kind of want some daytime hours for families with young kids to come out and be able to have the visits with Santa and get the good daylight pictures. And so, yeah, really looking for input at our next committee. We definitely plan to reschedule this committee meeting. It won't just be canceled because we've got to have some really good discussion. But any sort of ideas, please don't hesitate to send them to Justin in the meantime. And I think for this, we're really going to want to form a bit of a subcommittee where more hands on deck, right? Mm-hmm. That may involve other people in the community too. But that's really what we're debating. And again, I'm not going to lie, like Justin and I need to be cognizant of our own time. We did not take any holidays this summer and we were working every single weekend. And yeah, I think we've had maybe half a dozen days off since May. So we need to be mindful of that too. And yeah.
So take some time for yourself.
Yes, and not bite off more than we can. Chew. And we do tend to find ourselves a lot of times, it is a very limited core group, right, that ends up doing these things. So yeah, really looking for a lot more and ideas for how we can engage other people. We talked to the last group about having our subcommittee meeting about maybe putting a call out for volunteers and listing, more specific things. Justin has put a call out for volunteers in the interim, so I'm sure he'll have an update on that. Maybe this is a good segue into.
We did put a call into like a general Halloween volunteer call. We received, I believe, one firm response to that, who is going to participate in the putting together the selfie station for us on the 28th, but helping us put together the selfie station, but more of a limited response to that. But it was not
like a wide,
specific,
People putting themselves.
and we could put, cast a much wider net, right? And will for the Christmas activities. But yeah, any assistance that we can have from people who are, know of people who do Christmas related things or just love Christmas in general and would love to get involved with an aspect, whether it be decorating, taking on some sort of an activation. We've got lots of ideas, no lack of ideas. but I think that's the way that we'll get the most interest if we be pretty specific, so people know exactly what they're signing up for and see something that really piques their interest.
And if someone had like an idea of a specific portion of that market, yeah, and wanted to take the lead on that small portion and
Run with that.
yeah, get together some volunteers.
Yeah.
Have you reached out to Walker House for volunteers? Because they have some pretty creative people
It
there.
would be, you know,
That's a great idea.
Yeah, they've got,
Yeah.
and when you're talking about the pop-ups, are you trying to work the same days that they have the craft sales in town? Or are you wanting to do a different?
So that came up today too. So that is the Saturday between the parade and the tree lighting?
so
Is that when?
there's one on the 25th and one on the 2nd. So
Yeah,
those are
25th and 2nd, okay.
Weekend in between and the Saturday after the tree light.
Yes. And we were considering actually putting a table in that market on the 2nd just to promote, to sell a little bit of tourism swag, promote things that are happening Christmas wise, right? And try and get people moving. So initially we thought, hey, that could be great. We would have those two events happening the same day. A lot of people in town already going to the craft show that could easily move down and check out the holiday market. So that might be a great day to kick it off.
And the one on this, there's also another big one on the 2nd in Brockville Convention Center.
Ooh.
And I think there's about 85. I just got an update last week and I think it was 85 vendors.
And that could be a deterrent.
Yeah.
And then our other concern was we might lose potential pop-up vendors to the market that's happening on the 2nd. So again, we're, and there's only so many weekends to go around during that Christmas season.
Well, and the thing with the markets too is you have to register, like the registrations for these markets are done spring,
Oh yeah,
early
months in
summer.
advance. Yeah, yeah. They were calling for vendors in September, like August, September for
Yeah.
these markets. Yeah, I think we've been registered for like 6 weeks for that other one.
Yeah,
So, that's something to consider. And then if you get into the next weekend, is that almost too late into December?
It'd be, yeah,
Because now we're getting into, that would be December 9th.
and it'd be more.
That's only 2
of a
weeks.
One day kind of event.
Yeah, and we would be very much probably looking at a one-day event then. Other option would be to go after parade, between parade and tree lighting, which would be the week, the 25th, but that would conflict with the Kinsman Craft Show, but not necessarily conflict in that situation. Because we have no involvement in that event. There's no big event in Brockville to my knowledge. When did the other Christmas events fall?
So the one in Spencerville's on the evening of that.
24th.
last Weekend in November, I believe.
Coinciding with the parade.
That last weekend.
Okay. And the Brockville event, there's a Brockville event.
I believe it's on the 17th or 18th.
Okay.
and there's one at
So we
the
were thinking maybe
golf
the
course.
25th.
It's earlier, I think.
It's
November 11th.
Yeah.
I think I'll-
That's the 11th, and then the vintage one, I think is the 25th. Just let me double check.
I think the Kinsman's going back to the high school this year, so it'll be the 25th. So that could be, I don't know, I kind of see 25th maybe. But we'll talk about, this at subcommittee, but we would love to, any initial input we have. Tracy, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, do we have to set up a special subcommittee? Like not just the events committee that we have, like setting up
Yeah.
a subcommittee specifically for Christmas with a chair?
Yeah.
And I think that we should,
That would be a good.
looking at
That's
setting
where
that
we
up
would
now.
head with that, yes.
And then assigning a chair so that that chair has some authority.
Yes, and enough time to actually be able to take the time to do the recruitment and the mobilization of the volunteers that need to be engaged to be able to effectively put on what we'd like to put on.
Yeah. And then, we could reach out to the chamber, reach out to,
The BIA, the BIA, so the Chamber, North Grenville Chamber of Commerce would be interested, GCFDC would probably be interested maybe in being involved in some perspectives. So that too gives us the ability to really engage collaborative partners on a bigger scale.
yeah.
And businesses.
I think that, it would be good to get more local, because it is Prescott too. And that's
Yeah.
the thing that we've got to be,
Very cognizant of.
that it's Prescott, and I think really trying to get, I'm thinking more of like a core, even group of volunteer, not even necessarily affiliated with a business organization, just an individual who wants to get involved with Christmas, right? That's what I'm thinking, more along the lines of not necessarily like a business-led group.
Probably students that still need volunteer hours.
Volunteer hours, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, even the art department, that sounds cool. They're very active,
yeah.
very creative. Yeah, there's all kinds of people we could reach out to. But I think, yeah, it's important that we set that up and get it rolling.
And also, if we do have a committee, we can set a more defined timeline, and then we can go out to the vendors earlier so that they have that choice when they're making those decisions.
So are we thinking potentially someone from this group would take more of that active lead in managing a holiday subcommittee? That kind of what you were thinking, Tracy? That would be more spearheaded through the BIA, maybe someone around this table potentially could take more of a lead in helping to at least establish that broader subcommittee with the support of us, of course. Like, that's not to say that you're completely on your own and go create this 50-person committee to, you know, maybe someone to take more of an active lead in working with us and the events subcommittee.
Maybe we should nominate someone that's not here so they can.
Voluntold.
Just saying.
I think it certainly would be good to, you know, have someone that is well connected with a broad demographic, some affiliation with the events subcommittee certainly couldn't hurt to have that, right, that crossover between both.
What are our steps that we have to do to set the committee up?
So I don't think, and it's got to be, that's the thing where it needs to be a very informal group, right? To formalize it, I think that would be the difficulty. We have the ability to form any subcommittees that we should choose, and it's really just a matter of appointing a person, a chair, right, to kind of lead that subcommittee. But it wouldn't need to be like go through an actual formalized process, to my knowledge, Tracy. That's what gives us that flexibility when it comes to these subcommittees. And maybe it's this events group with a few other people around the table even, so it's not necessarily on one. Someone can take more in an active role, but it's still gonna be a core group of people.
And we do, the only sort of consideration is make sure we don't have any more than 4.
On the core
Committee.
planning, yeah.
From we can have, as many outside individuals as we want. Yeah.
But we can't have any more than 4 members on this broader.
But you know, since it's such a busy time of year, maybe you could do co-chairs because most everybody's busy. So even though somebody might be interested, think they don't have the time commitment, if you do co-chairs, then at least one would be at every meeting. Just a suggestion.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that could work.
I'll be willing to.
Awesome.
Yay.
You'll be hearing from me.
Yeah, I don't want chair.
I'll definitely help you. What did I just agree to?
Christmas Wonderland in 2024.
Maybe you can just ask around and get a,
Just put some initial
Yeah.
feelers, in between the 3 of you, and like, just start out putting some feelers out, see who we can get interested. I think we've got a good general idea of what we'd like to do, right? To just kind of put some options out there that might interest some people.
To set a kind of mental timeline, then are we leaning-ish towards the 24th? As maybe the bigger weekend, just to kind of.
Well, I think, it would be nice to at least establish tonight, as a broader group, are we thinking one day or multi-day? That would be nice if we could have just, the general consensus of the bigger group. So that we know as the events committee whether we're completely on the right or wrong track, right? With everything that's been said, what is everyone's instinct telling them?
There's so much going on, like on Facebook, you get a notification every day, like of this market and that market and this event and that event. I think if you're gonna have a one-day event, it's gotta be, you gotta look at the whole calendar of the region of what's going on to really pinpoint a good date for
Before we even talk about, settling on a date. And at the same time, we can't, it will get to the point where we're just gonna have to prioritize. What do we think is gonna present the biggest conflict? Because I guarantee you, there will be no Saturday that will be perfect.
Yeah.
So,
I think your first time trying something, I think the one day would be good. If it's a huge success, then you can always do it, either a 2-day event or 2 different weekends.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think for the first,
kick at it.
I think so.
Yeah. I really feel like from a staff perspective, I really felt like we were kind of leaning towards that as much as, it's more work, but if we can get a really good committee established, and this is not to say that we don't have other departments to lean on. Operations is there. That once we have a plan in place, they can come and help us stage it, right? It's not just solely on a group of volunteers to show up on a Saturday, so.
And would it lend itself as well to community services too?
Absolutely, yeah. No, I think it would be a really good partnership, kind of what we're doing with the pumpkin parade. And Canada Day, very similar, where we're partnering on like events to try and create a bigger, something more appealing for that broader demographic while still spreading the workload between multiple departments.
And I think something that we've been doing really well is doing smaller events that are attracting a lot of attention and gaining that credibility and that momentum. Because to do like an every weekend event, we are going to need a larger group of volunteers and we are going to need more community engagement. So if we can do one day really well on a smaller scale, that really, I think, would probably make it easier for us to gradually gain that momentum and make it bigger. What do you guys think?
I was gonna go off of that because it's like almost you run out of steam if you have to keep trying to think of what to do every weekend. And not that everyone is not creative, it's just mentally, it's also draining even for the participants I think one day and you give it your all. The only thing for the one day is like, would we have a plan B of what if the weather's not good or how do we cope with that? Like you give it all your all for the one day and then everything is canceled. Like you don't want that, but.
And in that situation, in this type of event, I would absolutely recommend having a rain date. It's not something we would ever locate inside. To me, if it's not gonna be there's no point in doing it. So we've got to have a plan B for a secondary date, right? If God forbid it gets, we have freezing rain or some terrible winter blizzard that day, then we can have a backup in place. But that's something that we really talked about a lot too, Nicole, is the fact that that's a big commitment to ask of businesses, vendors, entrepreneurs to come out, whether you're asking someone to come out and sell Christmas trees for a day or do a hot cider stand or roast some marshmallows by a fire or bring your reindeer out for reindeer feeding or, horse-drawn wagon rides, and the expense, right? The more days we do, the more entertainment, the more, that's 4 days of bringing the horse-drawn wagon rides out. That's 4 different, it's a lot, right? Everything comes at an expense.
And that brings up a good question, is how much money do we want to spend on?
To allocate to this, yeah.
And on that point, I don't know, like, do we put a disclaimer on the bottom? Like, I mean, if I were to put a shop in there, I would kind of know if the weather's bad, then I might cancel. But even on the bottom to remind that you have to be willing that if the dates change or if it canceled, it may happen. It's not like, it's canceled and.
No, I can't come that next day.
Yeah.
So you have to be prepared to commit to whatever dates we decide to put out. But I think, you make a good point. You're more apt to put your all into it if it's a one day.
Especially being our first winter market. It's not gonna be perfect, but I mean, if we can strategize to that one day.
Yeah.
It's a bit easier on your head.
And I do-
Mentally.
I do kind of lean back towards the tree lighting, like having it try and coincide with either following the Santa Claus parade or after the tree lighting, because it just feels like everyone's in that mood. Unfortunately, there's, potentially conflicting events that day, but
Especially if you had like, like ushers really help, like if
Yeah.
they, over here, like elves, even
Yes.
if they're doing the tree lighting, and they have like, they can wave and be like, there's more things here, there's more things there, people are more.
And there would be a possibility to sort of integrate the wagon rides with.
these
like the
things,
craft show
yeah,
And with.
It stops.
with the clock
Yeah.
tower area.
and have that over the Friday, Saturday. And have just a 2-day activity event happening, starting with the tree lighting and or Santa Claus parade. Again, we'll certainly think about that and do the research that needs to be done to make sure we aren't, choosing the worst possible event to conflict with. But this has been great discussion. And do we want to set maybe a date for our first subcommittee meeting? Possibly to follow.
Sure.
Does it make more sense for it to follow our events subcommittee or proceed? We also need to pick an alternate date for that, so. Potentially something we could coordinate through. Email, but December is gonna be on us very fast.
Really fast.
We are able to do a fourth, because I can be the fourth person. The fourth,
Yeah, for people, yeah.
Can't be more than 4 board members on that subcommittee. And what I would envision is,
Tracy does not count against quorum,
no,
so.
so she could join the events subcommittee,
And the Christmas could have.
still have 4 plus Tracy.
Mhm.
Yeah, are you prepared to maybe start coming to those event subcommittees just to kind of be that? Okay,
I can do that.
perfect. We'll let you know as soon as we get that date scheduled, and then maybe we can schedule the first official meeting for that holiday planning committee from there. Remind me though, just around the table, what days do not work for people?
Wednesday,
Wednesdays are bad?
Yeah.
Wednesdays are out?
Monday, well, that's only for me,
Okay,
I can come.
Yeah, Monday would be my better night too. And would we do 2 before then and maybe Monday, November 6th, and then a month later on the 4th? And that would be before our meetings and we can present whatever came up and then get it kind of.
solidified,
Yeah, and then move forward.
for sure.
Cause then we could squeeze 2 in before, well, depending on when we choose, but.
The only problem with Monday is that as long as we avoid council dates for Tracy.
Right.
Yeah, because that would
Monday, I'm not
conflict.
Oh, not.
Every
I
other
thought you
day.
said yes. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, then Nicole, it's not so much.
Oh, not
Yeah,
Monday,
not,
not Monday
it's the
for
only
you.
day we're closed,
Okay.
so I try to put everything for
Gotcha,
Monday. But if it's
Okay.
Monday, I can make it work.
okay. So that's what we'll do, we'll get the next
Yeah, we-
events subcommittee meeting scheduled, and then we'll figure out the date for the broader one, and avoid Wednesdays altogether.
Amazing conversation. Got a lot done. Thank you, everyone. Chair updates. The next collaborative event that I wanted to bring up and see if everyone was interested in engaging in is the South Granville Chamber of Commerce, the North Granville Chamber of Commerce, and GCFDC are looking at collaboratively doing a festive Christmas get together. We're thinking of looking at a date that's good for everyone and having it at one of the rooms in the arena. And looking into liquor licenses and having it catered by Little Barcelona. So there will be a minimal charge. We want it to be kind of low key, just more casual, not really a business after 5, but an opportunity to dress however you want. Just come, have a little bit of a Christmas evening. And again, we think if it's more collaborative, then we will get more of a turnout than we would if we were all doing separate events. So it's not something that we're looking to potentially sponsor. It's just something that I wanted to bring to your attention and kind of keep in the back of your head in terms of the fact that we are continuing to do these collaborative events with a very targeted ideology in terms of what we're looking for with the different members in terms of what they're looking for. And we think this will, it's not a huge gala affair. Because the feedback we're getting right now is the larger gala affairs, the attendance is dropping significantly just based on where we are in the economic situation that we're currently entering. So some of these larger gala events that traditionally have been the social events of the season are not getting the attendance that they traditionally have. So something with like a $20 price point where people, if they want to, can still get out and have that evening together and the opportunity to network. Without it costing too much. We're also seeing that if we are doing these collaborative events, the attendance, as opposed to like 4 to 8 of the same people showing up at everything, we're getting 40 to 50 across a larger spectrum. So just kind of an update in terms of what we're doing. Thoughts? Jody?
Sounds good to me. Like you're saying, Christmas is a busy time.
Yep.
So I'm sure some will come, some won't be able to. So it's probably, like you said, a good idea that you're drawing from a lot of different groups so that you have a bigger turnout. But yeah, sounds positive.
Jeannie?
Sounds good. Something I'd be more in price range of.
Well, and that's just it, right? There's a lot of them that are coming out that are like $175 a night, and I'm not making any judgment on that. It's just, we want to try and offer something that's something I'll pay. Terry, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, sounds good.
Okay. And that was the only item that I had. So any questions in regards to chair updates? Okay. On to item 9, staff updates. BIA coordinator update, sub item I, strategic planning.
So speaking of committees, the strategic planning committee is something we need to start getting back together again, so we can look towards having that strategic plan in the works and done for the AGM next year. So I believe the previous, we wouldn't necessarily have to go with the previous constitution of that agreement of that committee. We could get together a new group, but it is something that we need to get working on and looking at between now and the next meeting. So if there was an interest in anyone interested in taking part in that going forward, or I don't know what you want to do with that. Looking at a new committee.
So any questions about what strategic planning is? I'm completely new to this. So strategic planning to me, this has been a completely new experience. So we're doing it here, and we're also doing it with the Chamber of Commerce. So all I kept hearing was strat plan. And I'm like, what the heck is a strat plan? Because I really don't understand what that is. So just high level, really, it's identifying what your vision statement as an organization is and your mission statement as an organization is, so that everything you do and everything you're allocating funds to goes back to those primary goals and objectives. It's something that can be tracked on a go forward basis, and it's goals and objectives of where you want to be. So it's a lot of consideration as to what are our objectives, what are our goals, like what steps do we have to take to be able to get to where we want to be. So it's a lot of discussions, it's a lot of collaborative discussions, And it's crazy about how just one little word can make such a difference. And you'll find that the team, like you're talking about, should it be and or for like 20 minutes? Because just one little word can make such a big difference. So it's really important to us as an organization because it says, this is where we want to get to, and this is how we're going to get there.
And with the committee as it existed, we did go through some training with OMAFRA to go through the sort of self-guided strategic planning process. And we're more at the point now where we'd be putting together the drawing from the existing documents and getting ready to have sort of a, I guess you'd call it a visioning session with the board as a whole at this point. So if there was interest in being on a committee for that, as we just sort of plan those next steps.
And it's a good time for us to be doing it just because, as we've discussed previously, there is some confusion in our community as opposed to what we do, as opposed to the chamber. So with both organizations doing it at the same time, we can make sure that the language that we're utilizing really clearly defines our differences, but also our similarities. I'm really enjoying it. Mafra gives you lots of this really cool software to use.
And I think previously it was Natalie, Bonnie, Belinda were on that committee and participated in the actual training sessions. And then summer we got very busy, so we decided to just kind of put it on the shelf until things calm down a little bit this fall. But from an organizational perspective, it is certainly a good exercise. The Economic Development Department conducted a strategic planning exercise. We adopted a strategic economic development and tourism plan in 2021. Council goes through a strategic planning exercise every term. Theirs is actually coming up on October 21st. So again, timing wise, it would be good. It would be well aligned with council, with the chamber participating in theirs. We would also participate from a staff perspective and help, or at least identify some of those dev tourism priorities that can also help align the BIA strategic plan with. So it's something that we would certainly be happy to help facilitate as staff. You wouldn't be on your own as a group, and we've got some good resources in place. But I think we're at a point where it, just people's commitments have changed, and I think we would be looking at maybe establishing at minimum a 4-person committee. I believe Natalie is still interested in participating. Yeah.
Yeah, so we could add a 4th person. We could recirculate it to the existing group and put together, see if we can get them together.
Yeah.
Sometime soon to look at that.
But I think as part of this, we do, maybe it couldn't hurt if we are going to have, if there's a desire to have a discussion just about general membership and recruitment. And maybe we have establish that committee at the next meeting.
Sounds good to me.
If we are going to talk about that, because I think that could potentially impact who may sit on that committee.
Sometimes what works to get input from people is to send out 4 or 5 questions by email and have people, when they have the time, within a 2-week period or a 10-day, to answer the questions that you're looking for. And then it's not like another meeting.
No, and it's funny you say that, Ruth, because it's the perfect door opening, because that's exactly the process that they're recommending. Is that's kind of one of the first steps, is that we identify these core questions that we feel are really going to evoke as much, relevant feedback from the membership. Send those out, get that feedback. And actually, the chamber just went through this exercise, and Matthew and I worked on it together and just submitted it today. But it was good. There were, I think, 7 to 10 questions, very, core about the mandate of the organization, what its priority should be, focuses, ways that they can improve, ways that they can adjust or look to, you know, new programs or projects. And it was good to sit down with that. So that would certainly be one of the very first steps. And this subgroup are the ones that would sit down and identify, okay, what are those questions that we actually want to ask and start to get this information out. And then there's many more steps to follow, but it's not like this, you know, subgroup are the ones that are creating and producing this plan. It is very much a collaborative thing, and you're going to do the same thing that the chamber did and look and see public feedback as well from different organizations. And it's not an overnight process. This is something that will take, you know, probably several, we would think over the winter would be the best time. And then, you know, hopefully it's a bit slower for everyone. And that'll give us the time to truly focus on it and be ready to roll out in spring, ideally. So do we want to do that? Maybe postpone that?
Yeah, I think so. I agree.
Next one.
Does that sound good to everyone? Okay.
Miss Nina, you can mull over.
Light up the night parade.
So related to the Christmas planning, the parade is coming up on November 17th. As I mentioned, we discussed some ideas at the committee meetings about possible activations related to that, but another potential activity could be a BIA float in that parade. It would need to be the kind of thing where people wanted to get together and decorate that, but if that was something that the board had interest in, we could look at the possibility of doing that.
It could be a fun team building exercise. I do believe there is a wagon that I can secure through operations if there was a desire.
I've got a truck and trailer. I got a good truck. Interesting.
You know what the theme is for this year's parade?
Do we? Have they gone live with is there a theme?
I've seen the theme. Let's see.
Christmas.
How novel.
I will say they are fun. If you get together ahead of time and decorate it, have a little pizza party, get some fun treats to hand out to all the little munchkins. You don't get to watch the parade, but it's pretty fun to experience it from the other side.
I think I was in it last year.
Yes, yeah.
Running up the.
Yes, that's, oh my gosh, Tracy, yes, you were a trooper.
I can't find the theme, but if that's something people want to consider.
Again, we could discuss it as part of the holiday subcommittee. If there's maybe a desire, we could engage that broader group as well. But it could be just a fun BIA chamber. Do you think chamber would have any interest, Belinda?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
There, even between the BIA and the chamber board, you don't need more than half a dozen people and you can get a float decorated in.
And it really is so much fun throwing candy at children. Like, they just get so excited, right? And I'm not talking about throwing it at them, but kind of, here you go. And it really does, like, going through the parade, you get a completely different energy than being on the sidelines. You know, when people are cheering you on and, yeah, so definitely. So initial thoughts, is this something that we would like to look into further?
Sure, sounds fun.
Okay.
I can't participate. I'm just too busy that whole week.
Oh, yeah, no, but just in.
But it sounds like a good idea.
Something to support, okay.
And like, if people have family and you want to watch the parade, like, that is okay, but this is the time to at least say yay or nay. You know, we've got I think, majority around the table. Maybe this is one of those things that we want to go around to each individual and say, is this something that you are open to, interested in participating in? Just so we're not, you know, going down a road that, because if it's only going to be one or two.
Terry?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I got a truck and trailer. I got a good trailer that would work.
Awesome.
Tracy?
Probably, I'm not sure if the town does something.
You could have a bit of a conflict
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah.
You're expected to. We would, and I would suggest, make sure that we go as a convoy and have the BIA chamber float follow the town float. And go
Agreed.
one big group, and we can certainly arrange for that.
Agreed. And then we can kind of go back and forth and. Okay. Jeannie?
I'm not able to.
Okay. Charity?
My intention was to do one for the shop, but if I don't pull that off, then I would most definitely participate in ours. If I do get that dream a reality, then I would do that with my husband and kids in the shop. So that's why I'm kind of just sitting quiet, because I do think it's fun from both sides. My kids got to be in one of the skating ones and they said it was a time of their life. So whatever side you're on, it's fun. I just don't want to speak out of terms and commitment for myself at this time, but
And I'm not gonna lie, like I personally want to see a cruise.
but now it's coming real quick, so.
Yes.
But yeah.
But remember, it is a night parade and all you need is some good lights. Like that is the beauty of it. A day parade is so hard because it actually has to look pretty. A night parade, you can get away with a lot.
Yeah,
You just need
lights.
forms.
Yeah, lights and
Lights.
Yeah.
Flashlights.
Yes,
Pretty.
flashing lights, yeah.
And maybe a little bit of music and no one,
Yes, some music.
you don't even have to have the costumes because everyone is just like covered head to toe in like, we're dressed like Yetis,
Your warmest clothes.
Yeah.
right? And the
But you
kids,
get hot, so dress in layers if you're planning on going, because you're just you're sweating by the end, trying to keep up with the flow.
Nicole?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, so why don't I, and I think it's a good idea as well, why don't I reach out to the chamber? Just to see, because there's three of us who can commit, so we want to make sure to see what the chamber thinks they can do. I mean, also, we could open it up to family and family members as well. It doesn't just have to be us.
Oh, yes, it goes without saying, absolutely, like, we want you to bring family and friends and make it a big, for the actual ride and.
Yeah, and that helps too with more people being able to do things. So why don't we, again, table this one? Because I think there's definitely an interest. We just have to ensure that we can engage enough partners to make it a reality. Does that sound fair? Staff updates, subsection B, Small Business Week 2023.
So Small Business Week is October 15th to 21st. In the ECDAP newsletter you would have received there last week, should have received. You would, there was quite a few of the original BDC Small Business Week events. They're doing a number of webinars you can take part in. We are hosting our Small Business Situation Room on October 17th from 6 to 8 at the new arena. So we'll be using one of the community rooms in the new arena. What we're doing is getting together a number of the business-oriented organizations along with some subject area experts to come. They'll set up sort of in almost like a trade show, but not a trade show fashion. So it'll be like a networking event where people who can answer your questions will be around the outside of the area, and business owners will be able to come in, sort of do some networking and go up to specific groups or individuals, experts, and ask them any questions that they have in a bit of a more informal setting. So as we sit here tonight, you'll be likely getting a Small Business Week newsletter as well that has this as well as some specific events in there. So if you're interested and available, please come on back that night. It should be a good evening. Next, I just wanted to highlight the Bridges to Better Business event that is October 26th here at Town Hall. And Ruth and Lisa Lockett are the guest speakers for that event. The LG Small Business, the SBEC, organizes that every year, and it's in Prescott this year. It's a 2.5-hour event that has a networking aspect as well as some speeches, breakout discussions, awards. It's a good evening. It is $25 a person, and it's a good opportunity to meet with some other businesses, to meet with some groups as well, and just have an enjoyable night.
And we'll be there with a display. We'll have a table set up with town promotions, some swag, and be welcoming guests. Very excited to be hosting this year.
And the registration details for that is as well in the newsletter email that you should get this evening. I just wanted to quickly go over the fact that we completed our 2023 surveys on a number of things, including the downtown spaces and pop-up survey that went out to the public. So we received a large number of responses that we're sort of working through and collating there right now, getting the data together from residents, visitors, and business owners. And we ran that up until this past weekend. You likely either received it again in a newsletter fashion or saw it on Facebook there. Council will be getting a presentation on that data next week. So after that, we'll have a presentation here in November on the results of those surveys. But I just wanted to, a couple numbers that jumped out, one of which was that 66% of visitors who stopped at the pop-ups this year reported that they also visited other stores and restaurants downtown after they had visited there. And as well with the promenade, 47% of people who visited the farmers market there then went on to visit other stores and restaurants downtown. A little taste of the numbers to come.
But overall, it was overwhelmingly positive. It was really great feedback on all aspects: promenade, pop-ups, relocated farmers market, the downtown patios. It was, you just never know, right, when you put it out there. And we'd certainly hear feedback on the street and from conversations, and I think that's why these things are so valuable, because you truly get a good cross sampling of the community. Everyone has equal opportunity to provide feedback, and you get it in a form that we can now turn it into, information that is usable versus just hearsay. So it's fantastic. And I will say that the response has been very positive, and we're pretty excited to see that.
I guess one other thing that really stood out to me is the number of people that were willing to fill out that entire survey.
Yes.
Give us
that number
the whole way through, and still putting in the time to write thoughtful comments too. It was very heartening to see that.
Yeah. People are invested. I think that's the biggest takeaway, is that people are invested in this community, and they pay attention to what's going on, and they have opinions and feedback. And, there's nothing worse than I've been in this situation before when I've done community surveys and you might get 5% of a response rate, right? And this is a big number. And I think that also means that it's a good cross-representation of that broader community opinion that's out there, so. Oh, okay. And we have some very exciting, well, I guess we should call this, we have some uptown developments smattered through here as well. But we think, it's important because all business openings, regardless of whether they're uptown or downtown, they all impact each other. And the fact is that we're trying to encourage as much movement through the community as we can. So we certainly want to celebrate these openings, and that's why we always extend an invitation to the BIA to come out and support all openings, regardless of location in the community. So this was an exciting one. This is a picture of the groundbreaking of the new Quality Inn and Suites development a new 69-room hotel right in between the new Dollarama and McDonald's. We had the grand opening recently for that, very exciting. It'll be about 16 months before that opens, so still a little ways off, but it will be open in time for the 2025 tourism season, which will be great timing, I think. And it'll give us a good year to really get the Elaine Chartrand Community Center and the Seymour Recreation Complex fully activated as well, so that we can have a full roster of events and things happening for the accommodation to take advantage of. And then we had the opening of Renegades Restaurant and Bar. I hope that you've had an opportunity to experience it. It's we're hearing great feedback so far. I would definitely encourage members to check it out when you have a chance. And the Wing House is now open for dine-in customers, which is another exciting development. We do have an official grand opening pending for that. We're just in conversation with them right now, just waiting on some corporate developments to come to fruition, and then we can move forward there. And then in October, we just celebrated the 20th anniversary of Your Family Dollar, located at 109 Churchill Road East. That was just this past Saturday. Really exciting development. And then we have First Choice Haircutters 25th anniversary on October 17th. That's the official date, and we're actually celebrating the event during their open house on the 21st. So that's the date that everyone's been invited to come out and join us in presenting the certificate, or just pop in and congratulate them if you happen to be in the vicinity. And then we have Glitz Spa is celebrating a Customer Appreciation Day. That is on October 24th from 1 p.m. to 7 p.m. So that's an open house event. You can pop in anytime throughout the day, but we are planning to go probably around 1 p.m. with council. So if anyone was planning on coming, I would definitely encourage you to maybe come around 1 o'clock, and that would coincide when the rest of us will be there. And then we have a few other exciting business developments in the mix that have come out as a result of some recent CIP program applications. Just wanted to quickly touch on that too. That is now open again. Very excited about that program once again being open. We've got a lot of new funding available in new categories. Lots of information on our website, social media pages. So please be sure to check that out and share with any businesses that you're talking to, commercial property owners. It's a great program, and any businesses, commercial properties that have previously received funding can now apply again. There are certain eligibility requirements. It can't be for the same project you've already received funding for, but you can. We are certainly entertaining applications from properties and businesses that have received funding under other categories in the past. So exciting news, and we hope to support many more openings in the future now that this program is open again. That's it. Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, Justin and Dana, thank you so much. Okay, we will move to item number 10, downtown streetscaping.
There was a report included with your agenda package that went out. I'll just briefly go through what was in that. So at the last placemaking committee, August placemaking committee meeting, there was a discussion about potential downtown streetscaping. And this would be the act of sort of redesigning the aesthetic and functional qualities of the downtown core, and undertaking a very large scale project that would look at everything from the design to how traffic flows through there, to design guidelines for buildings, to making the street more accessible and more usable for pedestrians. And after that discussion at the September board meeting, we also had a brief discussion there where the board asked for it to come back with a report at this meeting. So that discussion and the one at the placemaking committee centered on whether the BIA was interested in sort of making a request and recommendation towards council to look at downtown streetscaping as a potential future priority. And to that end, looking at allocating some funds from the BIA reserve along with an ongoing contribution to a fund that you would establish to sort of make a commitment towards that downtown streetscaping. So this would involve, as a first step, engaging with a design firm to do the work to look at what could and should be done in that downtown space and what would be involved in getting that project started and going and completed. So as part of the package, I think probably the local downtown streetscaping that people would recently be most familiar with would be what happened in Smith Falls. So there's a before and after the Smith Falls downtown, before and after their streetscaping project in one of the more high traffic corners. You can see what was done in their case, to integrate some of those flower beds as well as cycling lanes. The parking moved from the, what would you call that? The vertical parking, I guess, to some that's integrated into that sort of median space. And the creation of sort of the sidewalk as a more walkable, pedestrian-friendly space down through there. In the package, I also included a during picture, because one of the things to be aware of that if something like this goes forward is that it is a large-scale project, and there is a lot of ongoing construction work that will make it difficult to get around for a period of time in the downtown. But the end results can make spaces more appealing. They can make spaces, I know I keep using the term friendlier, but they can make them friendlier to pedestrians, people spending more time in that space, going from store to store, going to multiple spaces, as sort of a large scale effort in placemaking, and sort of address some of the concerns that we will hear from people that are out and about downtown about both how they get around and how they engage with that space. And hopefully also would provide sort of some medium and long-term inspiration for building owners to start utilizing things like CIP funding to sort of integrate into that new design in the downtown.
You can actually see in these pictures that building did just that. They've done a major facade restoration of that building. I'm not sure if it happened in conjunction with the streetscaping, but it was definitely preceding that. It certainly wasn't done. It looks like it was purchased because there's a for sale sign on it. So these are the elements that I think, really go a long way towards encouraging traffic to stop and slow down and experience your downtown, and to create that space for the ones that are already on foot, on bicycles, using other methods of transportation, scooters, walkers. When you actually spend time walking our downtown, it becomes very apparent that it is not accessible, and there's certainly a lot of limitations. And that is simply going back to just the unevenness of sidewalks, aging sidewalks that have been fixed and repaired here and there. And over the years, you get this surface that becomes, extremely difficult to navigate for anyone with a mobility device, let alone someone who's perfectly able. If you are not looking down in front of you, there are potential trip hazards. So
Next to my spot, my place is horrible.
yeah. And that's just one example of the improvements that this would look at. It would look at new light standards, also bringing in color, vitality, art, installations, whether it be murals. We would have a design architect look at the entire downtown, Look at those spaces that are underutilized. Where can little parkettes be created? Art installations, interpretive signage that again encourages people to slow down and stop. Different paving treatments that is more accessible. Indicators for people with visibility issues when they're trying to cross the street. Having dedicated cycling lanes. And, at the end of the day, it gets to a point where I think it becomes extremely vital, and we're at that point in Prescott, where if the municipality demonstrates that investment into the downtown, it's only going to spur on that private development, like Justin mentioned. It's really going to encourage those property owners to maybe look at those developments and tap into the CIP funding. But I think we're really at that point where I think we can all feel it. There's something happening in this town, and there's a renewed interest. And I think we need to strike while the iron's hot, so to speak. And this is the time to, I think, start pursuing. And really, this is just about the BIA communicating to council that this is something they feel it would be a good priority for council to look at in the future, and maybe start making a point of pursuing funding opportunities, because this is certainly not something that the municipality would ever be able to budget on its own. But really just kind of, laying the groundwork for them to start thinking along those lines. And maybe when it comes to allocating money to reserves, maybe there could be a special reserve fund that gets established by council at some point that we can start putting this money in. And council has already allocated $50,000 towards the development of the design, to hire a landscape architect to come in and create that design that we can now pursue funding for. Because that is the first step, is we've got to have a design. There has to be a concept in place for us to be able to share with potential funding agencies to say, this is what we're looking to do, and this is the exact funding that we need to implement it. So that would really be the first step, and we have that, so we can proceed with that. And I think this step taken by the BIA really demonstrates to council that the support is there, at least from the downtown perspective, and the property owners and the merchants that feel that an investment like this could go a long way. And as Justin mentioned, there are other considerations too. And I think we would really want to look at potential incentives to offset the impact, because during this construction phase, there is sure to be an impact on the business community. I've seen many communities go through this before, City of Belleville, Trenton, Smiths Falls, and I know for a fact that Belleville and Trenton, as an example, actually offered a special streetscaping fund, an increased funding to offset some of the impact that businesses were feeling as a result of these long street closures that would go on for months, literally months. It is in some cases a full reconstruction of the street.
I think Belleville was like a couple of years.
Yes.
So
I was down in Belleville when there was literally nothing. Like they had the whole street, sidewalk, everything ripped right up. Like I'd be surprised there wasn't many businesses that went under because of that.
And that's where
Falls was the
really
same.
Yeah.
tried to provide as much support as they could. And when you look at it today, the downtown is completely renewed. Every store is occupied. I don't think there's a vacant square foot in that downtown now. And that's the result of these investments. And that's a good picture to show the construction of what potentially could. Now, the other thing in talking with the CIO about this is we could do this in a phased approach. So it wouldn't necessarily mean tearing up the entirety of the downtown for that project. There are, for example, there's a block where there needs to be some natural gas lines put in. So there's already some street work that's planned coming up in the next few years. So that streetscaping could align with work that's already has to happen regardless. Same with East Street. It's due for an eventual East to Edward. That block is due for an eventual replacement as well. So we would likely hold off and align any sort of streetscaping with that road reconstruction that has to happen anyways. And again, it reduced costs long term, and potentially reduces the impact, the detrimental impact that commercial property owners and businesses could experience from it. But I think, initial steps would be to prepare the design, which we do have the funding for, but, just hearing conversations around this table and in the downtown, I think the timing is there to at least demonstrate support.
Bruce, thoughts?
It's a big project. And the street in Smith Falls specifically is much, much wider than what we have to work with.
Oh, yeah.
A lot different.
And not only that, like our street is the major highway. Right, like that's Main Street, but our Main Street is like the number 2.
And they did it in Napanee is another example where they did it, and it is Highway 2 in Napanee recently, and the entire town was streetscaped, for lack of a better word. And this is not, a decision, this is simply at this point, and allocating money into streetscaping doesn't necessarily have to mean the full, redevelopment of the downtown. Once we have that plan, we can start picking off bits and pieces, right? So it doesn't always necessarily mean the full, every sidewalk up gets ripped up in the downtown. Maybe there's installations that we could look at doing in key intersections or key areas that are kind of underutilized public spaces, and start to implement those things gradually. And then as those street reconstruction projects come up, because they have to happen anyways, then we can look at adding some of the streetscaping as part of that.
And I think this isn't a decision, obviously, that we can make. This is a decision that council makes.
Yes.
This is more just if council makes that decision, are we going to support it? Because we definitely, it's not our mandate to suggest what council may or may not do or decide. I think this conversation is just more informative. We know that there are going to be some infrastructure projects that have to happen that aren't a decision. They have to be done to support the infrastructure for, is it Enbridge Gas?
Yeah, Enbridge Gas.
It's going to happen.
General road reconstruction that has to happen.
So if that has to be ripped up, is council going to support piggybacking on that?
And that's kind of what we're thinking, right?
And are we going to support it? So I just wanted to clarify that, because when I first heard about this, I was just like, well, we can't make that decision. And Jess or Dana were like, nay. You guys aren't making a decision.
Don't you support it?
Yes, are you open to supporting it if those decisions are made? Terry?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we wouldn't want, the nicer a place is, the longer people hang out, right? That's the bottom line.
Yeah, Tracy?
I was just gonna say, I would suggest this would be a good topic for the strat planning.
Exactly.
Talk to have that conversation with your membership, find out what kind of priority it is and, whether it's something that they're interested in. And are we speaking to this recommendation or no?
Yes,
Okay.
just because the timing on this is different than the strat plan.
Yeah, no, I was just, I find giving an annual amount very ambitious for the amount of budget that we have. Like that would be half of our placemaking budget.
Well, I think we also have to consider the fact that at this point in time, we're already dedicating funds towards placemaking. We're already allocating funds towards lighting and funds towards flowers and funds towards different things that are happening in the downtown core. This is just formalizing what we're already doing. These funds are not coming out of the reserves. They're coming out of operational cash flow that we're already spending. Again, we're just showing a commitment to the town, who in turn is going to be going and looking for additional funding. my understanding, this is just through discussions with Dana and Justin and working on the strat plan, is to get funding, one of the primary things that these different agencies look for is collaboration and support within the community. So if we're not supporting these initiatives or committing to supporting these initiatives, we're actually, in a sense, impeding the town from potentially getting funding.
And I think, and I think I do appreciate that, Belinda. It's critical to be able to demonstrate those partnerships. If down the road we decide to pursue that outside funding, you simply don't get it without having those partnerships in place. And the fact is that council has already demonstrated support for, that's been approved. So the development of the actual streetscaping study was something that was approved by the previous council. So that is moving forward. And that's why we were thinking with the timing of that and knowing what is coming from a construction standpoint, regardless downtown in the next 3 to 5 years, that the timing might be good for the BIA to at least start thinking about maybe allocating some funds towards that.
So why don't we change the recommendation of up to $5,000?
But I would suggest, this would be a great discussion for strategic planning. And so that's nothing to say that this committee has to approve this tonight. And if you want to defer it to a strategic planning discussion, maybe that's a great place to have that more fulsome discussion.
No, the point I was trying to make is that even if we did in the future decide to allocate from reserves, to me, that definitely does show some collaboration and some support for the town. But to actually commit to making an annual contribution of $5,000, which is 50% of our placemaking budget, to me seems very ambitious and challenging. We don't know what's going to come up in a year. And, even $500 shows that we're still, do you know what I mean? We have that 15,000 and every year we're saying, yes, we're giving 500. But I just want to be really cognizant of numbers, and that's even 17% of our whole budget, giving 5,000 to that. So that's just my concern.
So do we modify it and that was my first concern as well. I was like, but then kind of looking at where we actually were spending funds, the numbers that we are spending are close to that in terms of the placemaking. So if we modified it to up to, so we're not saying.
Not committed.
We're not committed to 5,000 up front, but we're committing to something. So.
We could leave it at that to make an annual contribution, but without a dollar figure. Because I agree with Tracy, we don't know what's going to happen. And if you
Concur.
leave it up to 5,000, even if we just leave it as an annual contribution and not an amount.
Mm-hmm. Or we could even defer until you do the strat plan, until you have that conversation and know that the membership's on board, that they want this to be a priority, and then we could visit this again. It's another possibility.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, the board could, endorse it in principle with further discussion to happen as part of strategic planning.
Yeah.
Definitely want to go for this. Like, even if we do the up to or have a minimum of, definitely. Like, those downtown areas really need to be set up, those sidewalks.
Ready.
I do feel that showing support for this moving forward is important, because I do think that I'll agree that there's improvements to be made. As far as how much we allocate moving forward, I do think some really good points were made that maybe we don't set that, but I do feel, I do support the idea of allocating from reserves to show that we support as BIA. I recently visited another community that did a very similar idea, different projects, same idea. And I'm familiar with that community, and I stopped and took pictures in the rain because I was so impressed of what they've done, right down to the organized waste bins, right? So pretty, into the flower gardens, like like I said, it was pouring rain. I'm very familiar with the community and I was stopped
Still
like a
compelled to
tourist
stop,
taking,
yeah.
because it was such an improvement. And I know the businesses went through heartache through it. It certainly will not be without, challenges. But I believe myself, in my opinion, that it's important growth for our community, and we are in a position where people are excited, things are happening, and it would be good movement forward, in my opinion.
I think it's very important growth for the community because it's not something that you're going to see it for 10, 20 years. It's going to affect everyone who is in the community and going to be part of the community. Like, it is like, you don't know what's going to happen, especially if they block the roads, as we were saying with the closures. But I mean, going through that after, and if you see everything is done like this, it is worth it. So I think it is good. And it is a smart move that we don't put a dollar amount, like Ruth said. So we are showing support, but we also never know what's going to happen here. So I do support that.
So what if we modified the recommendation from that the BIA allocate 15,000, or you guys can read, so I'm not going to read it to you. Because I hate it when people do that to me in a meeting. It's like, I can read, thank you. So what if we modify it to that the BIA allocate 15,000 from reserves to create a downtown streetscaping fund and review a potential annual contribution within the parameters of the strategic planning process?
Sure, sounds good.
Sounds good.
Is everyone comfortable with that? Okay. Does that sound okay, Justin? Did I word that okay?
That's perfect.
Okay. So I've got a recommendation that the BIA allocate 15,000 from reserves to create a downtown streetscaping fund and review the potential of making an annual contribution through the strategic planning process. May I have a mover? And a seconder? All in favor? That was a really good conversation. Thank you, everyone, for contributing. Okay, 11, committee roundtable, A, new business for members. We were going to look at membership within the parameters of this, but were we going to put that aside and look at this from a larger perspective of recruitment? Like, I'm not quite sure where we finally landed on that. Or we're at 7 o'clock, did we want to raise membership as an agenda item for our next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. We have upcoming committee meetings for marketing. Our marketing and promotions committee is October 17th, which we are going to have to change because that's a conflict with our small business week event. So we can take a look at dates.
Yeah, we could either do that now, or I could circulate a poll as to when people are available.
Perhaps a poll, just,
I'd probably-
I know I don't have,
That's,
yeah, a poll would be perfect.
And same for the 24th.
Yes, please. Anyone have anything they wanted to bring up? Nicole?
Nope, I'm good.
Charity? Jeannie? Terry? Okay. Well, on that point then, I will thank Dustin and Dana again for all of your hard work and all of you at this table. I know how hard it is to volunteer and what a huge commitment it is. And I really appreciate it. And I'm really loving the conversations that we're having. You know, we're really, I think, having good conversations. I think everyone is really engaged. So I really thank you for that. And I would like to make a recommendation that the meeting be adjourned to October 10th. No,
November 14th.
I'm like, wait a minute, I'm right.
Yeah.
so that's today.
Yeah, that's today. I'm like, a recommendation that the meeting be adjourned to November 14th, 2023 at 5:34.